Hi, Mr. Farmer here. Today we're talking about efficiencies, short-run cost curves, and again focusing on perfect competition throughout all of this. So review we talked about as far as producing at a profit, minimize the amount of shutdown, break even. So if you need to go back and review that. So we need to kind of pause. I had mentioned before a thing called allocative and productive efficiency, which we talk about supply and demand, but it comes up in every single market structure also. So for perfect competition, the industry is allocatively efficient. We know that because supply is equal to demand. So we have the consumer surplus, little triangle here, and producer surplus. There's zero deadweight loss. So we're in the efficient market. That's there. We're also productively efficient in the long run. Short run, we don't know because we're producing at the minimum ATC. Okay. And here's kind of the algebraic version of that. So in perfect competition, we got a whole cascade thing. In perfect competition, marginal revenue is equal to demand. That's a given from last time. We produce the profit maximizing output, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. And in the long run, a break even. So my price, my demand curve is equal to average total cost. So all of these things are then equal. Marginal revenue is equal to demand equal to marginal cost equal to average total cost. Well, for right now, we're going to talk more about this. My marginal cost curve is going to substitute for my supply curve. So supply equals demand. We're allocatively efficient. We're productively efficient because we produce marginal revenue, marginal cost at the minimum ATC because marginal cost equal to ATC. All that being said, it is perfectly efficient, both allocatively and productive efficiency. Okay, now we're going to get into the thick of it as far as profit maximization, long run shifts, all that kind of stuff. So where would the minimum point be on this graph? Well, you price it to about MR2 or price 2, okay, because below that it's a shutdown scenario. Okay, so which means anything above it is going to be somewhere that we would produce. And so the supply curve is, are you willing to produce and are you able to produce? Focusing on the willing. Anywhere below P2, the industry or the firm would not be willing to produce because of the shutdown. Therefore, anything equal to or greater than, usually you just kind of make it simple to say greater than because you don't get an argument that way. Anything greater than ABC for the price you would produce. So we substitute that as our supply curve. It tells us if you're willing to produce, and if you combine that with your demand and marginal revenue and stuff, are you able to produce at that output? So, can the market adapt? It has to be able to because changes happen. In perfect competition, they need to be able to, in any industry, be able to change to whatever the circumstances. Otherwise, there's not going to be motivation to keep producing. If the price goes up for resources, the price needs to be able to adjust. If it's now easier to produce or consumers don't want as much, can they adjust their prices? If they can't, it's not going to be a long-lasting scenario. So we assume that they can. So for instance, what if the resources get more expensive? Supply shift to the left. Okay, then that means the price is going to increase also. And it can keep changing and changing. Now here we have it's the marginal cost curve, ATC and ABC over on the right-hand side. The individual firm is static, and that is not the case. So what does it look like? Well, first off, what can cause it? Well, what does it change the average variable cost? Labor wages increase, electricity prices change, or whatever else. Okay, that would change circumstances. That would then change the average total cost as well. Or what if your fixed costs change? Rent goes up. Well, your marginal cost would change, and usually I start by drawing that. So there's our new marginal cost curve. It's easier to draw that one first because everything else has to relate to that. Not that it would happen the first thing though. Well, let's see, there's my new average variable cost curve. In this case, maybe they went through a training, as you can see, an increase in productivity. So now with the same fixed resources, they produce that much faster. So my marginal cost curve has shifted down. My average variable cost has shifted down. My average total cost has shifted down. So essentially, these are new cost curves. It looks a little more chaotic when it's like this. That's why those reference points, identifying the pricing output you're dealing with, is really important, because otherwise this looks like a big old mess. So definitely use those reference points for identifying and helping yourself out, and anybody else is trying to figure out what you're trying to say. So if a firm is producing at a profit, which seen here, let's just pretend that goes straight across, formatting and all that. So we're producing at a profit, and this is this yellow area. If you don't quite know why, review the 21.1 video. So in the long run, there's going to be a shift of the supply curve on the entire industry. And it's going to shift until they're at a break-even scenario. Okay. And again, there's no motivation to enter or leave this point. We're at the status quo. But what if that shift was actually caused because of the change in productivity? But then the whole supply curve also shifts down. So you can see the cost curve and the ABC and the ATC and everything shifts. And so with the supply curve, it also shifted. Not because of people entered or left, but because increase in productivity. We can't forget those determinants of supply. They still exist. Yeah, we focus more on demand, but they're still there. So an increased productivity shifts the supply curve to the right. There's an increase. Well, the individual firm is now more efficient with their resources. So yes, the cost curves can definitely change, and just take it step by step, and then use these reference lines. What is happening? Okay, the price is now there. My output's now over here. How's that compared to the new ATC? Just take it step by step, and it's going to be easier to get along. So again, the equilibrium price is determined by total market supply and total demand. It's adding up all the individual firms together. So for instance, how many firms do you think would be in this industry? Well, the whole industry has 200, and each individual firm is producing 10 units. So how many firms does it take to make 200? 20, because again, they're all perfectly competitive with each other, completely substitutable. They're interchangeable with each other even. All right, until next time, bye.